Hi all, welcome to the channel, welcome to the workshop, and welcome to Chaos. As you can see, the workbench is a complete mess at the moment. That's because I've been working on the DB5. Yes, I've been doing bits for the DB5. You've probably seen some little snippets and posts that I've done, where I've done a little bit of lighting and electronic work. But I'm at a point now where I can do a little bit of assembly. Now, I've got Todd's Marvel Phoenix's website up there, and that will be linked in the description so you can check it out. Hopefully by the end of this video we will have the interior looking like that, and possibly even mounted to the frame. It just depends on how long it's going to take me, and hopefully we will have sort of a more rolling chassis. As you can see, some of the interior is already together. I've done that as I've painted bits and put things together just to test. But we do have the ejector seats, we have the regular seat, we have the dashboard. And you can see there's massive wires there, and you'll see why in just a moment. So let's get into it. Let's get building.
Welcome to the workshop. Tools are ready to play. We're gonna build something great. Starting here today. Piece by piece we go now.
Right, so the Aston Martin. Now, obviously, I think the last time you guys saw it, you saw little bits of the bodywork. I've done a couple of shorts, I know that much. But you probably haven't seen the interior much. As you can see, we no longer have that rubbish black plastic. The seats have been taken apart, and I've painted them in this lovely grey colour, which does look absolutely brilliant. I am leaving the floor black as a bit of a contrast, and I think you will agree that does look absolutely great when they're in there. So we've got that grey and black interior looking brilliant. This I've also adjusted a little bit. I've repainted this little louvre door in gold. If you watch the movie, you'll see that it's like a gold lattice work with silver, I assume, like aluminium surround. So I've sort of semi-replicated that with the silver stripes across the end and the gold looking colour, rather than it just being one colour silver. I've also painted the interior of the control box, and I've also painted this silver box, which I think was set as a special effects board or something like that. So in my mind, that was the true control for the ejector seat. So I've put this nice little red detail on there just to give it a little bit of a lift, and it'll probably get painted a little bit more just to cover the black a little bit more, so it's a bit more of a matte black. I think it's a bit too shiny at the minute, so that's something else I will do at some point, and it's easy enough to remove that at the moment because it's only got the one screw on the back there. Now, why have I pulled all this together, and why am I doing this video? Well, I wanted to see where I want to show you guys where I'm up to, and also I am ready to do a little bit of assembly. But as you can see, it is a little bit chaotic here at the minute, and the reason is all these wires are making it look chaotic. Now, why do I have all these wires? Well, that is all going to be revealed right now. This, as you can see, is the original Eaglemoss board. Now, I'm not using that as such. I'm using a bit of it. Most of this car will be controlled by an ESP32. What's an ESP32, I hear you all shout? It's one of these. So you might be familiar with like Arduino, Raspberry Pi, that sort of thing, but it's basically a little micro computer controller. It's got various pins on it. It'll take a 5-volt supply on a couple of these pins, but we can turn different things on and off. This particular one, ESP32, it actually has Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So what I can do, I can run a small interface that you can use from a mobile phone, web device, something like that, computer, have a little control panel on a screen and use it to control this, which obviously in turn will control various parts of the car. The other thing I want to add is an infrared receiver. So the infrared receiver can be programmed also to control bits of the car. So instead of reaching into the car, pressing buttons and things like that, you will have this, and you can use a standard remote control or a Wi-Fi web app, something like that. But that's going to be effectively the brains of the vehicle. Now, as well as that, I am going to use the Eaglemoss board, as I said. So what I'm going to be doing with this is not using half of it, basically. Some of these are the lights, and the lights are all going to get controlled by the ESP32. So we've got the headlights there we're not using. The red and blue ones there are the rear lights we're not using. The yellow and red one there, I believe, is the console, that bit. We're not using red and white. That's for the lights on the dash. Again, not using that. So that's the rear lights. Green one, I believe the green was the switch for the brake pedal. So the brake lights got brighter. Again, not using that. And this brown one was this original switch, which turned on the external lighting. So not using any of that. You'll notice that all the others are actually connected at the moment. This one will get disconnected at some point. I will just wire that together so that it doesn't need the on-off switch. Because this will get powered by 5 volts at some point. It'll just be mains powered, so don't really worry about turning it on and off for battery saving, etc. So one of the things I did like about this car is not every model that you get comes with its own ignition key. Now, obviously, this is just a bit of metal. All it does is complete a circuit within the car. But I think it's still an absolutely brilliant idea. And if I just rearrange this a moment and get the speaker, hopefully you can hear this if I put it next to my microphone. So we've got the key just sat in the dash for the minute, and if I push it in, we get the engine start and the engine sound. And if I also press the horn, we get the horn sound and the engine continues running. Now that is something I did like with the Eaglemoss one, so I'm going to keep that because it's already got the engine sounds, etc. Yes, I probably could use something to control that, a relay or something, so it's not using a button and things like that. However, I still wanted to keep some bits of this. One other bit I will keep actually is, again, the engine sounds, etc. are nice, but I probably won't hardly ever use them, so that's why I'm happy to still have them on here. But if I just start that up again, so we've got the sound like that. If I now press the accelerator pedal, we get the acceleration sounds. Again, so that's something I'm going to keep. So that section of it is all going to be kept. But as I said, it probably won't get used that much. I just pull that key out, and I will probably put a key ring or something on here, sort of scale key ring. That way it'd be easier to take that in and out. So that is where that is, and that's what I'm going to be using for that. But right now, we are going to assemble the interior. If I just unplug that, and we can move all the interior to one side, or all the electrics to one side. As you can see, that's just running off 3 batteries at the moment, just plugged into a breadboard. But it's an easy way to test it. Everything works. Now, as I said, I am using Todd's website. So this obviously is partly together already. So the first things we're going to do is like put the pedal box in and put some of these accessory bits in. but obviously I've not taken those apart. So I'm going to put this back in. So to do that, you just need to slide it down there, and you'll see I've still left the screw in there. And slide that in there. Make sure it's fully down. And reassemble like that. Now, obviously, if you do want to see this car built from start to finish, head over to Wayne's channel, World of Wayne, where he actually did build one of these completely on his channel from scratch. But this is just a rebuild video. So it may not necessarily be in order, which is one of the reasons I'm using Todd's video, Todd's website even. Now, most of these cables are all going to run this way. And what I'm going to do is get some extensions. So some of these plug extensions, because all of these electrics I want to run basically to the boot section. Now, these were only ever measured to be as far as sort of this mid bulkhead here. So I will be extending these cables, but all the cables will run down this one side of the car. And I'm not adding too many cables over. Right, so now we're going to be putting the driver's seat in. Now, as you can see, this has all been brilliantly painted. So it now actually stands out. We just had black parts in black plastic within black plastic, and you didn't see anything. But now we have a nicely detailed under tray there. So just going to slide that in there, like so. And then the driver's seat is going to go into 2 holes, like so. And we need 2 Y screws to hold that in place. Now I've got my box of spares here, along with all the different screws that were required for this build. And as I took it apart, you can see that I did sort of rearrange the screws so that I knew which screw was what. And if you remember right from the beginning of the video, they were very good at telling you exactly what size, shape, screw each one was. It was nice to have a nice screw list. One thing I think that other companies should probably go back to, so that if you do, drop a screw, lose a screw, something like that, and instead of just saying type A, and you have no idea what that is, it might say 5mm by 2.5mm, something like that, and it'll make it so much easier to identify screws if you need a spare. Right, just going to pop the ejector seat in there as well. So that is the interior pretty much complete and done. Now, what my plan is at the moment to try and combine some of the parts that we have left is actually try and put this on the frame. So this is the frame. This is how it's currently looking. Obviously completely bare. But the last time you probably saw this, it was all masked up. As you can see, it is now all fully redone. This is the new colour paint. You can see the old original Eaglemoss colour there, which is obviously much lighter. This is a much warmer colour. It looks absolutely brilliant. Now this is actually pack 81, I think, within Todd's instructions. So we're going to pop that in like so. Flip it over, because what we don't want is these cables getting trapped. Now at some point the cables will run underneath here, I think, but I am going to leave them loose for now, because I'm not 100% sure where these cables are going to end up when it comes to wiring it all up. But I do know that these can pass underneath there, as you can see, because I believe the original wiring was underneath here and then through this little trunk section here. So we'll probably do the similar sort of run, but for the minute, doing it like this. I'll just leave those cables loose. Now, because I am still using one of the cables here, I have put a little bit of masking tape there just to, or a bit of electrical tape just to make sure those cables don't short there. And that was a bit of advice from Marvel Phoenix. And to secure this floor in, we need 4 type Q screws. Now it's going to be interesting to see how well this car goes back together, considering that I've got bits that are together, bits that are not together, and it'd be interesting just to work out whether anything gets missed or how easy it is to actually put this back together when you're doing it completely out of order. And a little bit from memory of how I've taken it apart. Right, so that's the interior in like so. Now I'm going to try and go through all of issue 81. I don't know if it was issue 81 or pack 81. I can't believe there'll be 80 odd packs. I'm going to go with probably 80 issues. We're now going to mount our speaker. So we're just going to pop that cable through there. Like so. And it just pushes on these 2 pegs. Like so. Again, make sure that cable is down there, so it'll run under the car. And then we also have our dash. So the dash is looking like that at the moment. I haven't changed any LEDs in the dash. I'm happy with the LEDs there are. I did consider adding more LEDs just so that all the gauges light up. But the primary thing with this is the exterior and the new lighting on the interior. Again, that's going to light up on the inside there as well. So it will look pretty nice when it's done without adding lots and lots of different extra details. Yes, I could have done quite easily adding more and more details to this until the nth degree, but I've decided that I'm going to leave it fairly basic, but just improve the overall look of the car. So we've got the wiring from the dash, and that needs to go down behind the center console. We're going to pop all of those down there. Now I have left the brown one in there because of that switch. And I say I'm not currently using it, but there may be an opportunity that I want to use it at some point, so I have just left it. And also the switch is there anyway without leaving a hole in the dash, so it's there anyway, so I might as well have the wiring for it and just hide it if I don't use it. Now this has to sit with the steering column in that space there. This wiring having come across here, and then this has to sit underneath this section here, and there's a couple little pegs that it will sit on, like so. I think that's actually gone in pretty well. Push that up. So just need to adjust where the steering column has gone, because it's stuck there at a minute. There we go. So you've got that pushed up into place like that. Steering works, as you can see, works perfect. And we just need to secure it with a couple more screws, and they're going to be the Y-type screws. You've got one in there. And one just in there. So we now have the dashboard in and the interior, which is looking pretty good. Now at the minute I can still get to that screw under there, so if I do want to repaint that box, I can take it out nice and easily. So what I'm going to do with all these wires now is just gather them all up. Certainly all the ones from the center console. Now I do know what each of these do. So when all of these pretty much, apart from the lighting ones, which would be the red and white one and the yellow and red one, all of these will plug into the Eaglemoss board. And what I'm going to do just at the minute is just cable tie these together. And then I will use the cable tie just to tie it to the bottom of the car for the minute. Now I do know that they haven't gone underneath the chassis plate, etc., where they should normally go, but this is just to keep them out of the way for the moment. So nice and tidy, like so. Now what we can do, we can actually start on the front end here. So I'm going to put the driving wheels on, the front wheels on. Now, parts I haven't cleaned, I am cleaning as I go, and you'll see the difference between these two. So obviously one I've not cleaned and one that has had a good cleaning. One thing I do like about this, and there's several things to be fair that I like about this Eaglemoss car. That you can see where they cut corners to save money, but there are also places where you can see where they've actually spent money. Now, polishing up this chrome plastic works really, really nicely, and as you can see, you get a really good shine on there. Now, that usually means that they've got a good level of chrome on there when they've actually electroplated this. Other models I've seen that are more expensive than this and have come out since this one, you try and polish this chrome up, it'll dull and not look very good at all. So that's another place that I think they have spent the money, and you can really get a good polish and almost looks believable to be fully chrome and not just plastic. Obviously, these tyres are not like the wire ones you get these days with Agora models and that sort of thing, where you've got to build each spoke up. They were just single wheels. But as you can see, they do look really, really good. So I just need to clean up the rest of that, and then we'll do a little bit more assembly. Right, so we're going to be fitting the front wheels to this. So just need to push this into here. We've got this like grooves section on here, and that's just going to push into that section there. Now, what I'm going to do is just get my hammer and just make sure that's tapped in nicely, just to make sure that doesn't move out of that point. Going to do the same thing for the other side as well. So they're in there like that, and then we're going to put the spring on there, and the spring on there, and then this can be fitted to the wheel. And then we have the entire wheel assembly that will fit on like this. So that will go into there. That's that silver pin going into that hole. And then this will go over the lug that you can see on this side. Basically, we need to hold that down, and we need to secure it with a type A screw. Right, so I've got that one in, and make sure that screw is as tight as it can possibly go. And I'm going to do the same on this side. Again, let's try to compress that spring. And get everything lined up. Make sure it's nice and tight. Right, we now have this bar. Now this is actually the steering rod. So we're going to place that into here. So it's got to go below that little turning knuckle. We've got one of these silver screw pins, and that's just going to screw into there. So that's in there, and that's got a little bit of movement, as you can see. Now what we need to do is get this tooth section that's under here over the top of the steering wheel. And we do need to make sure that the steering wheel is straight, ideally. And we want to have the wheels pointing straight as well. Hopefully when it comes to securing this all up. So that looks pretty good to me. So just going to slot that over the top of there. Slot this other screw in. So we now have the front looking like that. And as you can see, with the suspension, then those pins can move up and down. And as you can see, the steering actually does work. Now, once there's a bit of weight on there, it'll work much better. But again, I'm not going to be driving this around the dining room table, so it really is more for show than anything else. And right now, that is all I'm going to do for this assembly process. Now, obviously, I've teased you with this section here. So what I am going to do is bring over the other parts of the body and show you what it currently looks like. And I'm going to start off with this piece. This is obviously one of the last bits that actually needs to go on, but we could quite easily just tap that underneath there and we'll have effectively a full rolling chassis. There we are. So we now have the rolling chassis like that, looking pretty good. But that's not what you want to see. You want to see the rest of the body. So we actually start off with this piece here. Now you can see this has partly been assembled, and you would have seen this on one of the shorts that I did with the bulletproof shield. So the boot, as you can see, opens and closes quite nicely. This needs to be put in because that's how all the boot is held in. We've got the cable there for the servo. One thing that is missing from here, which will need to go in before final assembly, is actually the boot tray itself. And that does have a little slot cut in it for the servo cable to go through. But let's put this on here, because this is the first bodywork part that actually needs to go on. And that will slot in like so. So we've got that in there. Now at this point, with that back bit on, I could put it on the wheels just to lift it off the ground. There we are, so that's roughly in place. And then here we have the upper section that I've been working on that you've seen again. I put the interior in there, and to do that I needed to put the windows in. So all of those are in, and they again would just push fit. And again, this isn't a full assembly video. Got the wires there for the interior lighting. They will eventually tuck down between the car body frame and the interior. Just don't want to trap them for a minute. So we've got the top section there, and that will sit like that. Now this is probably the most complete this car has been since I took it apart. I won't do the doors because they're attached to the front wings, as you know. But here are the front wings. The electrics aren't in for the lighting, obviously, because I've been testing with those, so I've taken those out for the minute. But that's the front section going on there. And we have the bonnet going on just like so. Looking pretty good. Although I won't actually be attaching the doors, I will just place them. And then we've got the roof panel as well. I still need to finish off the interior of that, and that will be painted in the same colour as the roof lining, which is that lighter grey colour. But there is the Aston Martin, very loosely tacked together. Few bits and pieces still missing. Obviously, we don't have the front bumper, rear bumper, don't have any of the badges on there. I do need to get the new Superleggera badges to go on the edges here. I'll get those from Mike Lane. But it's certainly looking a lot better than it did when I first thought I'm going to do this project. And the light is certainly bouncing off that really, really nicely. Just having a look at it on the cameras there. But it's looking absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please remember to hit the like button below and give us a massive thumbs up. So the Aston Martin, it's looking pretty good, isn't it? Obviously all the bodywork will need to come off again, but obviously I know I've done a couple of little snippets of the front bodywork. You've obviously seen the rear bulletproof screen, etc. working, and obviously I've done a little bit of the interior the other day as well. But I figured you guys will probably want to see the entire car fairly complete and assembled. Obviously we are missing the front bumper, rear lights, etc. But the main bodywork there is looking absolutely fantastic. And as you can see, it's all one single color, which is great. Last year, Wayne from the World of Wayne visited. Obviously, before I took this apart, I showed him the Aston Martin, and he's obviously already built one of these. And the first thing he said was, "Oh, you've got the same problem I do with all the panels being different colors." So the old Eaglemoss paint was very noticeable that it was different colors, but this paint looks absolutely fantastic. It's all one single color. It's a darker color than it used to be, and I think that is probably closer to the actual Aston Martin color. I did actually specify it was an Aston Martin color when I got the paint. That was from a company called Advanced Paints, and so this does look a lot closer to some of the other Aston Martin DB5 models I have. So I'm fairly confident in the color of this paint being a little bit darker than it used to be. And I have to say, it does look absolutely fantastic, especially with the chrome wheels, chrome door handles, and the extra chrome bits here. Obviously, when we do the front section here with all the extra chrome parts, like the mirrors and the wipers, etc., it is going to look really, really good. Obviously, you've got the chrome of the window surrounds as well. That all looks really, really nice. I've put those in mainly because the interior roof lining needs those windows in first before you can put the roof lining in properly. And obviously I've put the LEDs in that roof lining now, and I wanted to get the wiring all set and sorted. So that is why the windows are in. I didn't film that, but they are just a push fit. And as I said, if you want to see the full assembly of this vehicle, go over to the World of Wayne channel. As I say, he has assembled one of these from start to finish using, again, Todd's website to help assemble it. The photos on that really do help. Obviously, we are at a point now where I am starting to assemble this, so hopefully there'll be a few more videos coming out for this soon. Next bit, I will be doing a little bit more electronics, making sure that all the wires go to the right places, etc., and hopefully all end up in the boot section here. I won't do too much on the electronics because most of it is just a bit of cabling and a little bit of programming, just for one of these ESP32s. And it's just going to be a little bit of code, turn things on off. It does have Wi-Fi, as I said, so it will have a app or web page that I can turn things on and off using my phone, and possibly even smart device like an Amazon Echo and that sort of thing. But one thing I will make sure it does have is an IR receiver. So that way, whether it's on the network, not on the network, far away, anywhere, as long as you've got the remote control, you can turn it on and off with the remote control. And I will just mount the IR receiver somewhere hidden on the car, maybe just underneath the rear here, so that you can get to the IR receiver. It was much easier to hide an IR receiver on the DeLorean, which I've done, mainly because of all the electronics on the reactor platform, etc. A little diode, IR diode, is not going to be seen as out of place. On this, however, it probably would be. So I do need to consider where that's going to go in the scheme of things, so that it's hopefully not noticeable, but obviously still usable. And I'll obviously show you that when I get to that point with the car. Next things I need to do with this, I do need to run more electronics. So at the minute I don't have any rear lights in this, and I have ripped rear lights out of the clusters, as you can see. If you remember a while back, I did have this car on the channel before, and I was fixing one of the lights because one never worked from the get-go, basically. When I did that, you noticed that basically one was brighter and one was a dot duller, and they never really matched. So I'm going to replace both of the rear lights, which is why I've ripped out both of them from the rear clusters and replaced them with two identical LEDs. And again, they will be controlled by the ESP32, along with the headlights, the interior lights, the dash lights, and the radar light. All those are being controlled by the ESP32 to power those. So I need to put resistors on all of those LEDs. The other items in there, so the sound, the ignition, etc., that's all going to get controlled by the Eaglemoss board, as it did previously. Same with the accelerator, etc. So I will be running a little bit of a hybrid system, but I can put 5 volts into this, and I can split it off to the Eaglemoss board and the ESP32 board really, really easily. And again, I'll probably use the battery cover and just drill a hole in there and put a just to put a jack in there for a 5-volt power supply, so it's not running off batteries, which is the other reason I'm getting rid of the switch that's currently attached to the Eaglemoss board, because I don't need to worry about batteries just being run down every 2 seconds. This was really, really bad for that. You could leave the switch on, take the key out of the ignition, which effectively broke the circuit, but it still had a massive power drain, and the next time you went to use it, the batteries are dead. So this going onto a mains power will be an absolutely brilliant idea. It also means that you can display it with the lights on constantly, which is what I do pretty much for the Night Rider vehicle and the DeLorean that I both have in the living room in the house. But as for this one, obviously, if I pull the door off a second, we do have a nice interior now, with that grey, black, and obviously the upper roof section is obviously in that nice light colour. I've chosen the lighter colour because if you look at the films, it does look like the A-pillars, etc. are in a lighter colour. So that's actually a light grey, where I've got a dark grey, and then I've got the black of the carpet just to break up the interior. Previously, if you ever saw it, when you looked into the interior of this vehicle, all you saw was black, with the exception of the steering wheel, which is brown, the steering wheel boss, which has got a blue emblem on it, the little bit of silver on the dashboard, and the chrome of the seats. Other than that, everything else in there was a sea of black. So it's nice to have that now broken up and looking much, much better. And obviously with this car, you can see the interior quite nicely by removing that roof section. And obviously with the illumination I've now added in there, it really is going to show up the detail that I've put into the interior. Not the most detailed obviously out there, and this is a 10-12-year-old car, so you think 12 years ago or something like that when this was first released, the details weren't the main attraction for this. The main thing I think was the scale. So there weren't that many, I think, die-cast 1/8 scale vehicles around at that time, and this might have even been one of the first of that time. It did only cost about £600 when it was done. Now, when you think that today's ones that we're doing, yeah, they're probably getting on towards £1,400. But with this one, as I said, you can see where they've cut costs. You can see where they've had, where they've actually kept the detail, and the main detail on this is the bodywork. So die-cast metal on the bodywork was really, really good. They cut corners, obviously not painting the interior, not colouring it, just using black plastic. And there are a couple of other details where you really have seen that they've skimped. But you got like the detailed engine, look really, really good. So they put the money there, they put the money in the bodywork, and they haven't really basically skimped on the interior. So they obviously had the idea that most people would display it all closed up, and you're never going to look at the interior. But now, this interior is a interior that you'd be proud to show off, and I certainly would be now that I've done all that work to it. And one of the reasons why I put the LED lights in there, so you can see it a bit better. If you want to see more of how this progresses, or anything else that goes on in the workshop, please do remember to hit the subscribe button and ding the bell for notifications, and then you'll see when I release new videos. Also, if you want to see this vehicle in the flesh, I am heading to the IPMS show in Telford, and this will be there because I'm going there as part of the Plymouth Scale Model Association. And the one reason that I am trying to get all the bits done, why you've seen a little bit more work happening on this one now, is because I'm going to get this one hopefully finished to show off at Telford. So it'll be interesting to see, one, if I can get that to do, and how I'm going to get it all the way from Plymouth to Telford, and hopefully it remain in one piece without a scratch. So it's going to have a lot of padding around it, because it's not just going to be this. I am going to hopefully take a couple of others of the 1/8 scale cars, I'm sure it won't be the only 1/8 scale car at the show, because I do know people like the likes of Agora are going to be there, and I'm sure they will be showing off a few of their models as well. So that is it. The next video you see for this will probably be another mini assembly video, or if you decide that you're going to be a member of the channel, and there is that little join button down below, so do check that out. I will start doing some behind the scenes videos of the Aston Martin, and possibly a couple of things going on in the workshop. So until next time, I'll see you around. Cheers.